You know that really specific and honestly just completely annoying feeling when you finally decide, okay, this is it.
Oh, yeah, the big resolution.
Right. Like I am finally going to become a morning person.
Or you tell yourself you're finally going to be the kind of person who doesn't procrastinate until like 11 at night.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You buy the fancy planner, you set the alarm for 5 a.m., and you have all this motivation on Monday morning.
Monday is always the easy part. You feel like a completely new person.
You really do.
Yeah.
But then, Wednesday happens.
Wednesday is always the hurdle, isn't it? Or maybe if you're lucky, you make it to Friday.
Yeah, exactly. The alarm goes off, and suddenly it feels like a personal attack.
Yeah.
The gym feels like it's on a completely different continent.
And before you know it, the old you is right back in the driver's seat.
Pressing snooze, scrolling on your phone, and eating the exact breakfast you swore you were giving up. It's not just that you failed a habit. It feels more like you snapped back like a rubber band.
It's a really universal frustration. We so often feel like we're fighting our own internal programming.
Mm-hmm.
And usually when that happens, we just blame our willpower. We think, I just wasn't strong enough, or I lack discipline,
Right, we treat it like a muscle failure, like I just need to try harder next Monday.
which rarely works out.
No, it never does. Well, today, for our deep dive, we are looking at a document that suggests the problem actually isn't your willpower at all.
It's your identity.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We have this fascinating source material today called the 21-Day Identity Recalibration Protocol. And let me tell you, this is not just some simple habit tracker you stick on the fridge.
Not at all.
This thing reads like a technical manual for the human soul.
It really does. The text actually describes itself as a structured superconscious recalibration.
Which sounds intense.
Very. And our mission today is really to unpack that, because it's less about changing what you do, like drinking more water or running a mile, and more about fundamentally shifting who you are.
It's an identity lift.
Right. It outlines a rigorous process designed to rewire the brain through a mix of neurological conditioning, energetic clearing, and some very specific daily rituals.
And when you say rigorous, you mean it. The first thing that jumped out at me from the sources, and it really sets the stakes right away, is the zero-skip policy.
Yeah, it creates a high-pressure environment from the very start.
It says explicitly in the text, if a day is skipped, the process must restart from day one.
No exceptions.
It doesn't matter if you're on day 20. If you miss the ritual, you go all the way back to the start. That is just intense. Why such a hard line?
It sounds punitive, I know, but within the logic of the protocol, there's a very specific reason for it. It refers to something called neurological momentum.
Okay, what does that mean in practice?
Think about boiling water. If you heat water to 99 degrees and then turn the heat off, it just cools down.
Right.
You don't get almost steam, you just get hot water. The protocol argues that to rewire a neural pathway to physically change the brain's default mode, you need continuous, uninterrupted pressure for 21 days.
So a skip isn't just taking a pause for a day.
No. A skip is a signal to the brain that the old pattern is still acceptable. It breaks the momentum completely.
Wow.
The brain needs that continuous signal to accept the new program as the dominant reality.
So we're talking about a literal boot camp for your brain. You're either doing this or you're not. But before you even get to those 21 days, there's a whole setup phase.
The prep work.
Yeah, let's unpack the prep work. Because you can't just wake up and start this on a whim, can you?
Correct. The source material divides this into a few preparatory steps. Step 1 is the initial assessment and identity mapping.
Which kind of sounds a bit like an architectural survey.
That is a great analogy.
Yeah.
You can't renovate a house if you don't know where the load-bearing walls are.
Or where the rot is hiding.
Exactly. The protocol requires a really deep intake of your current self-concept. You have to map out your limiting beliefs, your emotional triggers, and your repeating life patterns.
So you basically have to sit down and admit to yourself, okay, I have a pattern of self-sabotage when things get too good.
Yes, or I have a deep-seated belief that money is always hard to come by.
And that is uncomfortable work. I think most people want to just skip to the positive affirmations part.
Oh, absolutely. But the text states very clearly, identity cannot shift without clarity. You need a baseline.
You have to know what you're deconstructing.
Right. But you also map out what they call the target identity blueprint.
And what does that look like?
Well, this isn't just saying, I want to be rich. It's defining the very specific outcomes you want in your career, health, abundance, and confidence. You're creating a gap analysis between who you are now and who you want to be.
Okay, so we know where we are, and we know exactly where we're going. Then comes step 2, which is superconscious clearing.
Yes.
And this is where that construction analogy really fits perfectly for me, because before you build the new skyscraper, you have to clear the old crumbling foundation.
That is precisely how the text frames it. It says, before installing a new identity, the old one must be cleared. This involves removing inherited belief systems.
Inherited belief system. What does the text mean by that?
Well, think about the things you believe about the world right now. Like, rich people are greedy,
Okay.
or you have to work hard to be loved, or even don't speak unless spoken to. Where did those actually come from?
Usually your parents or teachers or just society in general.
Exactly. The protocol argues that a huge chunk of your identity isn't yours at all. It's just scripts you absorbed when you were 7 years old.
Man, that's a heavy realization. We're running code that someone else wrote for us.
Absolutely. So the goal of this clearing phase is to identify those foreign scripts and actively acknowledge they aren't yours.
You're clearing out the emotional residue.
Yes, so you have a totally clean slate.
Yeah?
And once that's done, you build the specific tool that you'll use for the next 3 weeks, which is the personalized mantra.
And this isn't just, live, laugh, love written on a Post-it note on your bathroom mirror.
Far from it. The protocol gives very strict rules for this mantra. It acts as your neurological script. There are 3 main requirements.
Let's hear them.
It must be in the present tense, it has to be emotionally charged, and it must be specific to the life outcomes you mapped out in step 1.
I want to pause on the present tense part.
Yeah.
Why is that so important? I mean, if I'm not confident yet, isn't saying I'm confident just lying to myself?
To your conscious mind, yes, it feels like a lie. But your subconscious mind doesn't process time the way we do.
How so?
It's very literal. If you say, I will be confident, the subconscious hears that confidence is something for the future.
It puts it on the someday shelf?
Exactly. It keeps it just out of reach forever.
So saying I want implies I lack.
Precisely. By saying I am confident, even if you aren't yet, you are creating what psychologists call cognitive dissonance.
A gap between reality and belief.
Right. And the brain hates that gap. It will actively work to close it to match the statement. You are literally forcing the brain to catch up to the words.
So it's a command, not a wish. I like that. Okay, so let's get to the main event. Step 3.
The daily ritual.
Yes, the daily 30-minute identity immersion ritual. And this is where it gets really interesting for me, because it's not just sitting on a meditation cushion and focusing on your breath.
No, it involves 3 distinct elements happening all at the exact same time.
It's a sensory stack. You've got warm salt water, headphones, and a mirror.
It sounds totally eclectic, doesn't it?
It sounds like a spa day gone weird, honestly. But let's break it down, because the text is very specific about why each of these is strictly necessary. Let's start with the feet.
Okay.
You have to submerge your feet in warm salt water. Why? Is this some sort of detox thing?
Not in this context. While people often associate salt baths with pulling out toxins, here it is strictly about physiology. The text describes salt water as a grounding and relaxation agent.
So what's the goal?
The primary goal here is to regulate your nervous system.
So it's about stress reduction.
It's even deeper than that. It's about safety. The text explains that the warm salt water helps trigger parasympathetic activation.
That's the rest and digest state, right?
Yeah.
As opposed to fight or flight.
Exactly. And here's the key insight from the text that I think is just brilliant. When the body feels safe, the subconscious becomes more receptive.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense.
Think about it. When you are stressed or anxious or running on adrenaline, your brain is defensive. It's in survival mode.
It's looking for threats.
Right, not new instructions. It effectively locks the door to the subconscious to protect you.
So if you try to do your positive affirmations while you're stressed out in traffic, you're basically yelling at a locked door.
Precisely. The message never gets in. By using the warm salt water to physically lower cortisol and signal safety to your biological alarm system, you are unlocking the door.
You are preparing the hardware to accept the software update.
That's exactly it.
That is such a crucial point. You cannot learn a new identity if you're panicking. So your feet are in the water. You're feeling safe and grounded. Next up, you put on the headphones. What exactly are we listening to?
You are listening to that personalized mantra you created, but it's layered over alpha brainwave frequencies.
Alpha waves. We hear about these a lot in biohacking circles.
Yeah.
What's the specific function here according to the protocol?
This is all about bypassing the critical
A
factor.
critical factor. That honestly sounds like a movie villain. Is that the skeptical voice in my head?
Essentially, yes. In psychology, the critical factor is the barrier between your conscious and subconscious mind.
Okay.
It's the bouncer at the club. Its job is to reject any information that doesn't match your current known reality.
So if you tell yourself, I am a millionaire.
The critical factor checks your bank account, sees the balance, and says, false, rejected,
Right.
and it kicks the thought right out.
It stops the affirmation from sticking because it knows it's not true yet.
Exactly. It just bounces off like a pebble on a windshield. But research suggests that when the brain slows down into an alpha state, which is between 8 and 12 hertz, that barrier actually thins.
What does an alpha state feel like in daily life?
It's that twilight zone. You know when you're driving on a long highway and you totally zone out and suddenly you realize you've driven 10 miles without thinking about it?
Oh yeah, highway hypnosis.
Right. Or that feeling right before you fall asleep. You're awake, but you aren't critically analyzing anything. You're just absorbing.
So by playing these audio tones, you're lulling the bouncer to sleep.
You're sending the bouncer on a coffee break. The text claims that in this state, the brain becomes highly suggestible.
Wow.
By layering the affirmations over these frequencies, you bypass conscious resistance entirely and install the new identity script directly into the subconscious.
So you're hacking the bouncer, you're sneaking the new identity in the side door while the critical mind is completely distracted.
Essentially, yes.
Okay, so physically we are safe because of the water. Neurologically we are open because of the alpha waves. Now for the third element, and honestly, this is the one that would be the hardest for me.
Mirror gazing.
Yeah. You have to maintain soft eye contact with yourself in a mirror for the entire 30 minutes while listening to these affirmations.
It is almost always the most confronting part for participants. And the text explicitly states this is not about vanity.
Right, it's not about checking your hair or fixing your eyebrows.
Not at all. It's about recognition. The text calls it witnessing.
Witnessing yourself.
Yes. Think about how we usually try to change. It's a very internal, intellectual process. We think about being better. It's all in our heads.
True.
But here, you are forced to physically look at the being who is receiving this new programming.
It bridges the gap between the internal idea and the external reality.
Precisely. It prevents you from hiding. The text describes the mirror as a tool for emotional integration. But more importantly, it forces embodiment.
Embodiment.
Imagine looking yourself right in the eye and hearing the voice say, I am a powerful, disciplined leader. If you don't actually believe it, you will see the flinch in your own face.
Oh man, you will feel the cringe in your gut.
You really will.
It's that uncanny valley feeling of looking at a stranger in the mirror.
But that discomfort is actually the medicine. That cringe is the friction between who you were and who you are becoming. By holding the gaze through that discomfort, day after day, you are desensitizing yourself to the new reality. You're normalizing the new identity.
So you just keep staring until it feels normal.
By day 21, the goal is that you look in the mirror, hear the mantra, and you don't flinch at all. You just nod, because it's true.
It dissolves the identification with the person you are trying to leave behind. It feels like it forces you to be totally honest. You can't really lie to yourself when you're locking eyes for 30 straight minutes.
It creates a feedback loop that is just impossible to ignore.
Okay, so this stack the water for safety, the audio for absorption, and the mirror for embodiment is done every single day for 21 days. But the protocol doesn't stop when you take the headphones off, does it?
No, because the brain is always working in the background. That brings us to step 4, which is dream and outcome journaling.
And this isn't just a basic diary entry, right? Not just, dear diary, today I ate a salad.
No, it's treated strictly as data collection. The source material emphasizes that the subconscious communicates quite differently than the conscious mind.
It doesn't use words.
Right. It doesn't send emails or texts. It speaks in symbols, in dreams, and in emotional patterns. Since you are actively stirring up the subconscious with this daily ritual, you need to track what floats up to the surface.
So you're looking for weird dreams or maybe sudden mood swings?
Exactly. You are looking for synchronicities, which is external evidence that things are aligning, and you're also looking for resistance.
The text mentions tracking as a way to reinforce the change.
Yes, what gets measured becomes reinforced. By tracking these shifts, you are proving to your conscious mind that the process is actually working. You are building a case file for your new identity.
It validates all the hard work. But let's talk about that resistance you just mentioned, because step 5 is unlimited support.
Yes.
It seems a bit odd that a self-led protocol would emphasize support so heavily. But then I read the part about the identity detox.
This is a crucial point in the source material, and it's honestly where most people fail when they try to radically change their lives. The protocol anticipates an identity detox, or what psychologists sometimes call an extinction burst.
Identity detox. That sounds pretty unpleasant.
It can be incredibly unpleasant. We have this Hollywood idea that self-improvement is just a fun montage of working out and smiling at the sun.
Right, the great soundtrack.
Exactly. But the text warns that when you fundamentally shift an identity, the old self fights back hard. The brain loves
It
homeostasis.
loves things to stay exactly the same.
It loves predictability above all else. Even if your old reality was completely miserable, it was predictable.
So when you start changing and getting better, the brain panics.
The amygdala, which is the fear center, totally freaks out. It thinks this is unknown and the unknown is dangerous, so it tries to force you back to the old factory settings.
So how does that show up for someone doing the protocol? Is it just negative thoughts?
It's much more than that. It shows up as testing behaviors. You might be 10 days in feeling absolutely great, and suddenly you get hit with a massive wave of depression,
Wow.
or irrational anger, or a sudden, overwhelming urge to engage in the exact bad habit you're trying to break.
Oh, I have definitely experienced that. You decide to get healthy, and suddenly you have the worst craving for a pizza you've ever had in your entire life. Like you'd commit a crime for a slice.
That is the old identity literally fighting for survival. It's an extinction burst. The protocol even mentions that some people get physically sick during this phase.
Oh, really?
Yes, flu-like symptoms, extreme fatigue. The body is physically processing the energetic shift.
That is wild. So the body actually manifests physical symptoms just to get you to stop changing.
It's a defense mechanism, and that's why the unlimited support step exists. It's to prevent a relapse during these highly volatile moments.
You need someone to talk you off the ledge.
Right. It's there to remind you that the chaos you're feeling isn't a sign that the protocol isn't working. It's actually a sign that it is working perfectly, and the old structure is finally crumbling.
That is a really helpful reframe. Usually when we hit resistance, we just think, oh, this isn't for me or I'm doing it wrong. But this is saying, no, keep going. That's just the detox.
Correct. It's the fever breaking. If you can push through that volatility without reacting, without skipping a single day, the old self eventually runs out of energy. It goes extinct.
So we have the prep, the daily ritual, the tracking, and the support phase. I want to circle back to the timeline one more time. Why 21 days?
It's a specific time frame.
Yeah, we hear that number in pop psychology all the time. Like, it takes 21 days to form a habit. Is this text just riffing on that popular idea, or is there more to it here?
It's related, certainly, but the text is much more specific about neurorepetition. It argues that 21 days is the minimum viable dose. Yes. It's not that you are perfectly fixed in 21 days. It's that 21 days is the exact time frame required to interrupt the old subconscious loops and build enough behavioral momentum that the new identity becomes the default.
It's about establishing familiarity.
Yes. The text notes that at the beginning, the new identity feels like a costume. You're just acting. But by day 21, if you've done the mirror work and the alpha waves consistently, the goal is for it to feel like skin.
It just fits.
It becomes unconscious competence. You don't have to try to be the new person anymore. You just are them.
And that zero skip policy we talked about in the start ensures that the neural pathways are being hammered day after day without a single break.
Exactly. It prevents the old weeds from growing back in the gaps.
When you look at the whole picture, the big picture of this protocol as laid out in the sources, it really is a machine.
It is a system, a complete biopsychosocial machine.
Nothing seems random at all.
No, if we connect this to the bigger picture, it's a very deliberate stack. The assessment creates the intellectual clarity. The salt water creates the biological safety.
The alpha waves create the neurological opening.
And the mirror creates the psychological confrontation, while the journaling creates the feedback loop.
It really addresses the problem from every possible angle. You can't just think your way out of a behavior. You have to feel it, see it, and hear it.
And crucially, you have to do it when your nervous system is calm enough to actually accept the new information. That, to me, is the most fascinating part of the text, the emphasis on nervous system regulation as an absolute prerequisite for change.
Right. You can't upgrade the software if the hardware is completely overheating.
The perfect analogy.
So what does this all mean for you listening right now? Maybe you aren't going to go out and buy a foot bath and salt today. Maybe you aren't ready to commit to the full 21 days right this second.
It's a big commitment.
It is. But there is a core idea here that I think is really powerful to take away, regardless of conflicting viewpoints on habit formation.
I think the core idea is that we often fail to change because we are working at the wrong level entirely.
We focus on the surface.
Right. We try to force new habits, new software onto an old identity, an old operating system. This protocol suggests that until you recalibrate the operating system itself, the new software will always crash.
The subconscious is just a million times more powerful than your conscious willpower.
Without a doubt. And this protocol is simply a structured way to get the subconscious on your team.
It challenges you to look at who is doing the habit, not just the habit itself.
And it asks for a level of commitment that honestly most of us avoid. It asks for total, non-negotiable immersion.
Which brings us to a final thought for you to mull over as we wrap up. The protocol relies so heavily on that mirror, it demands you look yourself right in the eye and claim this new version of you.
It is the ultimate test of belief.
So here's the question for you to explore on your own. If you had to sit in front of a mirror right now, look yourself in the eye for 30 uninterrupted minutes, and claim your dream identity.
Saying things like, I'm wealthy, I'm healthy, I'm at peace.
Would you actually believe yourself, or would you blink?
That is the question that determines whether the change truly sticks.
And if you think you would blink, well, maybe it's time to find some salt water. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive today.
It was a pleasure.